Okay, so just a quick video this week. No big intro or anything. I'm just getting kind of right into the sales that I had. Overall, it was an okay week. I did not get as much listed this week as I had wanted to. I don't know, just stuff kept coming up day after day. So a lot of the things I had talked about in the last video about plans I had made, like, oh, I wanted to get stuff listed and cross-posted to Posh and really work Posh. Like, a lot of that didn't happen. So that's life. Life of a reseller. You just kind of never know what to expect. So we did get some things listed. My 10-year-old, towards the end of the week, my husband employed him as a virtual assistant, and so he's been making drafts for us, which is kind of nice. And today he took a few pictures for me. So definitely he's interested in it again at the moment, and so we'll see how long that lasts. And it's just nice to have an extra set of hands just kind of doing data entry and getting stuff in there. So we'll see how that pays off in the next upcoming weeks. So we're starting on eBay. This is just a pair of New Balance shoes. They've been listed for a little while. I basically will pick up sneakers in certain brands in certain conditions. We don't like to have to do a whole lot of work to shoes or to sneakers unless they're a brand that will definitely sell for more and it just needs a little bit of cosmetic cleaning out the soles or something like that. So these sold for $30, which was fine. Nothing super exciting there. This was a trucker jacket by Levi's. It was made in the USA. Size 50, a little bit of a larger size. And here I am again, not prepared, but let me see. I don't think that was the selling price. I'm pretty sure we either sent or received an offer on that one. So I'm scrolling down on my phone where it shows it better. Yes, it sold for $75. And they paid a really high price in shipping, and then we were able to put it in a padded flat rate. So we refunded a little bit of the shipping. But I still think $75 is an awesome price for a vintage Levi's denim jacket. So that did pretty well. Next up is this Travis Tools hole saw kit, something. I don't know anything about this. This was my husband's find. I don't know where he got it. I forgot to ask him, so I'm thinking maybe he got it at the old bins place that we get, our outlet place that we get stuff from. So that was $25. Next up is my really good sale. I think I mentioned it last week because it had happened while I was, filming last week's video. And this buyer had bought one of these Jams World shirts that I had gotten from that Hawaiian shirt haul that I've talked about before. And he had bought one, and it turned out he lives somewhere overseas, and so it went through the global shipping program. I'm not generally a big user of the global shipping program. I know eBay is rolling out a new international program coming up that I may test out. It seems pretty simple, and I think it has decreased the fees possibly that buyers have incurred when they use the global shipping program. And so people I've heard who've been switched over to the new international shipping option that eBay will have, they reported kind of an increase in international sales. And for the most part, if I ship internationally, I just do it myself and I use Pirate Ship to do that. But these were all collectible items, and I had all the Jams World kind of at higher prices. And I just felt, you know what, all I want to do is ship it to Kentucky, and then they'll take care of it from there. So it's kind of my first real experience with the global shipping program. So this buyer bought one last week, I believe, and I shipped it and I just got, well, maybe it was the week before, but I just got word that it was delivered. So I was super happy about that. But before it was even delivered, this buyer came back. He asked me if I would combine shipping. And I said, oh, yeah, I didn't realize who he was. And I said, yeah, of course I'll combine shipping if you buy more than one. Because he's like, I'm interested in this one and in a couple others. And so I didn't realize who he was, and that once he bought all these shirts, he bought three shirts. And once he bought them, the global shipping program doesn't really combine shipping for you. So I just went back to him and I said, and I think I had sent out offers. And so he had accepted my offers on these shirts. So he did kind of get a discount anyway. And so I went back and I just said, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were overseas. The global shipping program doesn't let me combine things like that. And he said, okay, too bad, no worries, So his total, it was this shirt, this one, and this one. As you can see, they're all kind of higher price shirts. And I had sent out an offer. So let me see, this one, I don't know, it's not going to show me each individual one. Hold on. Oh, here we go. I just saw it a minute ago. Okay, so this one was at $160. It actually sold for $135. And then the next one, Jungle Skins, sold for $170. And the last one, Bangles, sold for $110. So his grand total for those three shirts was $415. So I was super happy about that. Now, a lot of times when I have a big sale, that was like Sunday or Monday, right at the beginning of the week. And my husband says, okay, well, I guess that's it. That's us for the week. And that seems to happen quite a bit. I don't know. eBay kind of keeps us, unless we list like a mega amount of kind of above our normal listing, then our sales don't, they don't increase. Or I should say, if we list a bunch of things above our average listing, then our sales numbers will go up. But it's not like if we just kind of maintain our regular listing habits, we never have a week that's like, oh my goodness, look how much I sold. Like it always has to match the amount of work that we're putting into it. So I've had it happen several times where I have a really big sale. Like one year I sold a pair of vintage Levi's for like $600. And I usually made about $600 on eBay for the week. And so that was pretty much all I sold that week was that pair of jeans. And so, I kind of ended up just staying at that level that I normally had. So it is what it is. But it actually, we did have some other sales later in the week, which were pretty good. So eBay actually did pretty well this week. Some of the other platforms didn't quite show up. So probably overall, I made about the same amount that I normally do. So, but I was super happy for 3 of those shirts to go all at once for $415. I also sold this denim shirt from the 90s from like Mickey Inc., right? So a Disney shirt, and it had this like embroidered suspender look on it with all the characters from Winnie the Pooh. So again, I kind of thought this would go on Depop or even Poshmark, but it sold. If you can see the back, it has that same kind of look on the back. And that sold for $25 with an offer. And then my husband, he was laughing because he picked these up. He says it was a long, long time ago. He picked these up at like the free box of a yard sale. And he was trying to explain the yard sale to me. It was a long time ago. And he said that he's just had it in our stuff, like it needed cleaning up and everything, and he just was like, you know what, I finally have to do this. So kind of like a death pile type item. But he listed them. They sold really, really quickly. These Volkswagen mud flaps, and they sold for $90. He sold this coffee mug for $29.99. And the funny thing was, I had seen on Instagram the vintage toadstool, or maybe it was the modern toadstool. It's the same person, different accounts. And she had listed a bunch of coffee mugs and then had them also on Poshmark. And she had this coffee mug and she sold it for about this price, if I remember correctly. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. And like a week later, I saw this same exact mug at my thrift store. So I knew without even having to research it that it was a good mug to pick up. And so mine did sell for $29.99 within like a week or two, I think, of listing it. The funny thing was, though, is I woke up early and I saw that I had sold this coffee mug, and my cross-posted mug had also sold on Poshmark. So both were guest buyers. It was the same person. They had like probably through Google found it both on eBay and Poshmark and went in and bought both of them. But it was only one mug. They were both mine, right? And they didn't notice maybe that the pictures were identical or whatever. So I just went ahead, I canceled the Poshmark one and sent out this one from eBay. So it happens. It doesn't happen super often, but it's always easier when it's the same person buying the two items instead of two different people buying at the exact same time, which is even more rare. And then my husband had another car part kind of sale. He picked these up at the thrift store, and they are just floor mats for a Volvo, and new with tags, all that kind of stuff, and those sold for $50. This next one's kind of random. It's Banana Republic, which is not a brand we normally resell or flip, and my husband and I, neither one of us can remember where this came from or who bought it or anything like that. And he was surprised when he went to list it that it's from fall of 2019, but he said prices were like surprisingly good on this piece, right? And so he listed it at $48.99 and it sold for our full asking price. So I probably would have passed it at a thrift store because it's Banana Republic. So maybe I bought it for my husband and he didn't like it. It's not really quite his style. I don't know. Or he got it at our outlet Bin's place, which is a possibility, but he doesn't remember it either. So who knows where this came from. And then I sold this Torrid called a popover blouse. It's a popover is one that doesn't button all the way down. And I think they're usually collarless too. I'd have to double check that. But it just was too cute. I couldn't pass it up at the thrift. It was just a couple bucks, but it had all these dogs all over it. So that one actually sold an offer I sent out for $21. And then Knox Rose. I've been experimenting with this brand because it's everywhere at the thrift. And I think I was watching Kaylee Elaine, and she talks about this brand as just kind of a bread and butter, and to stick to larger sizes and certain styles like the prairie. All the pieces I found have been kind of that boho kind of look. So this one had metallic like embroidery and everything, and it sold for $20. So definitely bread and butter, but it sold within a few days, so that's good. This one is, if you don't know about it, you should know about it. Texas Instruments TI-84 Plus, the TI-83 I think can also be good. So it's not every single graphing calculator sells well, but if you price these at a certain, at a certain level, they sell very, very quickly. So $50 is about that level, especially this one was in really clean condition and working condition. And it had, the back, it had its battery cover, all this different stuff. It had the case that goes in it and everything. So at first, my husband, years ago, I think you could get closer to like $70 or so for these. And I knew the prices had kind of gone down, but there is a buyer who buys up all like these, like all of them that get listed, he buys them up, and I think they refurbish and resell, or they rent out to places or something. But they have a business like doing this. So you're selling it to another reseller. And if you keep your price high, maybe you'll just eventually just sell it to like a student or somebody who needs it. But for a quick sale, it can be, at this range, the $50 range. So my husband had listed it, and at first, when I looked at his listing, he had it at like $80. And I looked at sold, and I was like, none of them are selling for $80. So I just told him, I said, I'm going to drop the price. I'm going to adjust it. And what I did is I ended it and then changed the price and relisted it so that that company that buys them all probably have bots or something like that get notified when new things get listed in their price range. So I wanted to make sure they knew about it instead of just revising the selling price. So I ended it, relisted it for $49.99, and I'm serious, like within an hour it had sold. So totally fine with that. I paid like $2 at a thrift store a couple weeks ago. And then these also were from our little outlet clearance center. The brand is HS Trask. They're vintage. All we can say bison leather, I guess, is something he discovered as he did his research. And yeah, so $50 for those. No offer or anything like that. So those sold for $50. This shirt has been listed for a while. I kept meaning to like redo. I don't know. I don't think it needs to redo the pictures, but it had just been listed. Like the whole listing needed a refresh or something. And I have a bunch of other Western shirts I need to get listed. So my plan was to to list those and then relist this one. And anyway, but I didn't have to because it finally out of nowhere just sold for $25. Okay, so the last video I put out was kind of part 3 of the kitchen utensil, kitchen drawer reselling videos, and it was about kitchen knives. And so we talked a lot about these knives in that video. So if you haven't seen that, go ahead and take a look in my channel for that video, the knife video. And these were Wusthof damaged knives. They were problems with the handle, but they still sold for $90. And then I sold this Pendleton skirt. I think it just sold for $24. I listed it earlier back in the fall, and so it went through the winter, and it is a lightweight wool, so it could totally be worn this time of year as well, but I just wanted to move things on, so I took that $24 offer. This Pendleton shirt, it's not vintage at all. It's called the Expedition shirt, and it's just a corduroy shirt, but corduroy seems to be fairly popular, kind of a perennial favorite, and that sold for $50. And next, This was one of the listings my son did. So my husband took the pictures at this point, but my son made the title and he did the research and he filled out all the item specifics. And then he, I think, typed up the information here. And anyway, it sold very quickly for $25. So he was happy to see a result pretty quickly from his work. Like all of us, we like it when things sell fast. Okay, moving on to Ruby Lane, a pretty quiet week. I sold this. This was kind of interesting. It was a pillar candle holder, and it's called Tollware. So there was a thing on it, made in Italy. And so this style, these types of items, if you see things like this, like lamps or candle holders, that they always sell. They do really, really well. And so this sold for $29. Now, someone had asked to buy this. They had sent me an offer, and I accepted the offer. They said they were a fellow dealer, and they said they collected this pattern though. And so I accepted their offer, but then they never paid. So I had to cancel it, and then it sold like a day later. And so I thought it was the dealer just came back and bought it at full price because she was embarrassed that she didn't, had gotten it canceled on her. But then it was somebody completely different. So that was fine with me. $29 for that candle holder. Then the sad story, this is the only other thing that sold. And this is the weirdest thing, but these are it's an earring holder. That's what all the holes are for. So you can see if the picture, right? So it just stands and you pop your earrings in it and everything. And so I listed it, I handled it, I bought it at the thrift store, and the brand is Torino. And then I put it out for my husband to ship it, and he said all he did, he picked it up, he kind of maybe put his thumb right here to pick it up, and that mushroom popped right off, right? They're just cast aluminum. They're not super sturdy, and I think all these holes just kind of weaken it. And so he thought at first he could glue it, we would let the buyer know or whatever. But as he put it down, this part broke like across here. So the whole thing is in like 3 pieces. So I had to cancel this order. I just sent a message and just said, sorry, I've never had anything like this happen before, but we practically just touched the thing and it fell apart. So I'm glad it happened here before we shipped it, because it probably would have, no matter how my husband shipped it, it probably would have arrived in pieces, right? And so I had no idea they were so fragile. Anywho, that was kind of sad. And then the pattern shop had some sales. That's my Pish Posh Notions. So we sold this little stuffed animal pattern for $9. This cute little vintage 70s simplicity pattern sold for $12. I love those knee socks. This was a newer pattern. I had just recently moved this off of eBay, where it has been sitting and sitting and sitting. Moved it off of eBay, put it on Etsy, and it sold for $9. And then another little $9 pattern. The company is called VENDOO. It's a German company, but sometimes they have the US versions that actually do have English written on the envelope. Sometimes you find VENDOO patterns, the whole envelope is in German. And finally, this one sold for $16. This is a fun, very 80s looking one, but the jacket is so kind of Victorian inspired and would work for like steampunk and all that kind of look. So $16 for that vintage pattern. And then, like I said, Poshmark was just kind of this week. I sold this pair of shorts for $25. UB, it was just a brand I didn't recognize at the thrift store, and looked it up, and it was like somewhat decent comps. Took a little while to sell. It's not a huge brand that people know about, and so I got the $25 offer, and I took that. And then this is a Land's End puffer vest, and it was not vintage or anything like that. You can see the tag Land's End. It's a newer tag, but we have just learned to pick up down vests, a goose down vest or jackets, just pick them up in any kind of brand that is halfway decent. And even if it's a brand that you might not normally buy any of their other clothing, the down clothing outerwear seems to sell no matter what. So that sold for $53. And very similar to that, another Land's End. I saw this at the Goodwill one day, paid about $8 to $10 for it, and it was in really good condition. So I was surprised it was still there, but same thing. The tag was kind of a newer tag. They still have them on their website. They're one of the jackets I think you can get personalized, but this one didn't have any kind of personalization on it, and it sold for $70. So even in March, it's still cold. It's going to a ski area. So there's still plenty of places. We got 6 inches the other day. Today was up to like 45 degrees, and you might laugh if you're in a different part of the country, but 45 degrees is like really, really warm for us. And so a lot of our snow has melted already today. So that's great. And moving on to a couple other Etsy shops. This was my husband's Etsy shop. And this funny little piece I picked up at Goodwill the other day, and my husband's very good about getting things listed pretty quickly when he's in listing mode. And so he cleaned it up, and we were like, we have never seen one with like a little Dutch boy like there. And so he found a few others kind of like it. And sometimes it's not a Dutch boy, it's some other little character. But he kind of looks like he's kicking, right? The little cauldron. And yeah, it's just kind of an interesting little piece. It would be good for a plant, air plant, or just a piece of interest kind of thing. It's kind of cute. So it sold for $26 within a couple days of him listing it. And then we sold another Dymo. I think I've talked about these before because my husband sold one. So this one didn't have a case. So the last one I think he did $55 because I had a case. This one was $44 and $45, and he had some tape to send along with it. And then just a vintage coffee mug, stoneware, unsigned or anything like that, but could fit into lots of different kind of decors. And I had a couple of them. I had one on Ruby Lane, and he put one on Etsy, and his sold first, and so I took mine off of Ruby Lane, and he relisted the second one into his shop. So just an interesting piece. I just like to pick up interesting looking pottery mugs, and Etsy seems to be a kind of a good market for those. And then in the utensil and flatware shop, I sold this little sifter. I got it at an estate sale, and I just kind of love the original sticker thing on it. I was glad that was still there. Very awesome mid-century colors, and it kind of was sticking a little bit. Something was going on, but I just handed over to my husband and say, here, fix this. So he got it working again, and I listed it, and it sold for $14. And then the last sale that we'll talk about is this little set of pink plastic handled flatware. Very kind of cheapy looking, but I usually do not have a problem selling it, especially on Etsy. The set sold for $30. So it's just basically, it was just a fork, knife, and spoon. And I kind of advertised, I think these were made in Taiwan, so definitely vintage. They were in pretty good condition, a few little marks on the plastic handles and on the stainless, but I kind of market these for camping or glamping or, you know, things like that. So let me see if here's, no, I don't know where you can see your tags anymore. They used to be down at the bottom. But anyway, so yeah, I say picnic, like picnic wear, campers or patio or things like that. So sometimes people want, kind of a vintage looking set for their campers. And pink, of course, is going to be a popular color. So that's it for the week. So I don't have anything new and exciting to tell you. Like I said at the end of the knife video, I think coming up later this week, we are going to try to do a video about what did I say I was going to do? My bucket list items, I think. It was just going to kind of be a fun video coming up about the types of things that, after all my years of thrifting, I have not yet been able to find in the wild. And so I'll share a couple stories of some of those bucket list items I did find, but then we'll talk about some of the ones I'm looking for and why I'm looking for them, because what do they sell for? So I just thought that would be something fun for a change. So anyway, I hope you guys had a good week. I hope this week goes well for you. I've already started off behind on everything, which is why I kind of just needed to do a quick video today. And but we just keep plugging along, right? Okay, hope you guys have a good week, and we will see you on the next video.